Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to this week's Workshop Wednesday. It's a Beyond Basics edition, and we're going to be talking about using calculated fields and formulas in Google Data Studio. Now, my name, if we go too far into this, my name is Chris Mercer. I'm the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io, and maybe you found us through some of the podcasts and talks that we've given out, maybe through some of the content we've shared with platforms like CXL Institute, Social Media Examiner, Digital Marketer, or Measure Summit. Maybe, just maybe, you're already a member over at measurementmarketing.io. However you found us, we are happy that you're here. It's our job to help people just like you learn how to use all of these really cool tools. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about Google Data Studio. Now, I'm actually going to step aside and bring up Julie Brade, one of our premier instructors, our lead instructor, in fact, over at measurementmarketing.io, because she is a Data Studio rock star. She's going to be actually there to help us out and to make sure that we know a thing or two about something called calculated fields in Google Data Studio. The reason that I bring up this one thing slide is because this can get a little complicated. And if you're brand new to Data Studio, like just take this as something like, oh, it's cool that I can do this one day. You probably will. If you already have some Data Studio experience, you'll definitely find today's workshop helpful. Just remember, this is a Beyond Basics workshop, so she's not going to cover how to do a Data Studio report. It's just when you've got a Data Studio report, you want to make it even better, you probably want to take a look at using calculated fields because they are amazing. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Beyond Basics, using calculated fields and formulas in Google Data Studio. Now, of course, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. We're going to bring up Julie Brade, our lead instructor here at measurementmarketing.io, and she's going to go ahead and show us a thing or two about Google Data Studio and specifically calculated fields. Take it away, Julie.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Mercer. Super excited to get started with calculated fields and how to make a dashboard a little bit more organized and more useful so that the end user who's using the dashboard can take action. So this is our demo dashboard that our members have access to in our dashboard toolkit. And so this is a lot of data that we have cleaned up and put into the system. But what happens if you don't have your data in a clean way and you need to still be able to report on something to give the end user action or help them take action? And that's what we're going to talk about with calculated fields, being able to do that. And we're going to jump right into something we're creating with our sandbox. And the very easiest thing to do is do simple math with calculated fields. And so we have a demo funnel right here that is just using goals. This is not a beginner workshop or beginner anything that we're going to go over how to put goals in. That's part of our Win Google Data Studio Basics course. But just know that these are goals that we have set up and to identify when people see a sales page, a cart, and they purchase. And I've already gone through and created these fields, but we're going to walk through how we did them and what to look for. So what we have here is the Academy sales page conversion rate. So we're grabbing the cart and dividing by the 228 of the people that saw the Academy sales page. And so how did we do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we could have done it. We could have clicked here and created a field this way. However, that only works for this very single scorecard. So for example, if I were to add another scorecard over here, it's going to give the default metric of new users. And if I were to add and create a field here, this field that I create is only for this element. I would not be able to then use it in a different type of chart or use it on a different page or anything else. So it's not very useful for that particular way. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. But let's say we're going to do it a different way. So we don't want to do it this way where we click on and add a field. What we do want to do is click down here and add a field. Or you can click on the pencil in your data source and add a field here. So we're going to go ahead and click add a field, and we're going to walk through the exact same way of us creating this sales page conversion rate. and we're going to start out with the name that we know. And so we have to call it what it is in Data Studio. So it's calling it Academy space dash space 1. And that's what we're looking for. And again, I know we're looking for the completions. That's the count of how many people accomplished the goal. And I also know that because of math, we need to have the cart page actually above the sales page. So we're going to go ahead and you see how everything, the whole formula kind of went wonky until I get this goal picked out. And so I'm actually going to scooch over a little bit, and with my, now it's pulling up everything, because before when we were all one word, it didn't like it. And so now we're able to see all of our different options here. So right currently, all we see, and we're seeing down here, it says this is an invalid formula because all it's looking at is the completions here and the completions here. So we're going to simply add to the divide sign and get rid of that little space there, and it's thinking and it's giving us a check mark. And then we're going to say, just so I can see the difference, we're going to say new Academy sales page conversion rate %. And all we're going to do is save. And then we'll say done. You can see it kind of doing something over here. Say done. And one thing to note, it doesn't automatically put whatever it is you're looking for here. And I know sometimes that kind of gives a little hiccup, like, oh no, it didn't work. Yes, it did. It's not here yet. So we can look for our new field, because again, we're doing calculated fields and we added a field. And this is the new one that we just created. I'm hovering and it says new Academy sales page conversion rate. And you can see as I'm hovering, you can see that the 1, 2, 3 on this new user stays there. The 1, 2, 3 on this one stays there. However, when I'm hover on this one, I see it's a formula, and I can click on it and come back into the formula to edit it if I need to. So we're going to come back, and then we're going to drag and drop it. Here's one way to do it. Or again, you can come within here and find it as well and just click there. Now what happened? It's not showing the same number. And so we're going to come in here. This one way to do it is to change the number and change it into %. That is again, if you're changing something within here, you're only going to change it in this one element. If we want to change it across everywhere we use it, if we're going to use it across multiple pages, the best practice is to again click on our data source, and we're going to edit it within here. So I'm again using the search option just because that's a whole lot better than scrolling through a bunch of stuff. And we are going to, we found the calculated field that we created, and we're changing this part right here. So instead of it being a number, we will change it to a %. That way, wherever we use this, it'll always show it as a %, and we can already see that it changed it. There's not a save option in this particular step, so we just say done, and we have that adjusted. And you could do the exact same thing with the cart conversion rate and the overall funnel conversion rate. And that way you'll be able to use it. There is another way to get conversion rates, and that's with blending data and that type of stuff when we've talked about that in other different workshops. But this might give you a little bit more flexibility about what you're able to use with your data. So it just helps make your dashboards that much more flexible and more usable. So it's just a really good option for you. Now, more simple math that you can do is, what if you want to know the total of something? And we'll just walk through this one as well. So if you have two different goals and you want to add them together, we're going to do the exact same thing. But instead of clicking on the data source up here to add it, we're going to try this option down here, add a field. And we're making it easy on ourselves by having these names right in front of us. So we're going to say we know it's certification with the 1. And this would be a use case if, let's say, you have a goal for two different sales pages, one's a monthly, one's an annual, or perhaps two different cart pages, one's a monthly, one's an annual, and you need to see a conversion rate for any cart page. And this is a way for you to be able to do that without using up another goal space. And talking and typing is hard. So there we go. So we have just, again, simple math. And we could say all sales pages. That's all we do. We get our green check mark validating that we have it correct. And we can go ahead and save. And we have to say done before this thing goes away. And in order for us to see our number, we're going to go ahead and add a chart scorecard here. It's going to go back to our default colors and everything and use the default metric. And again, we're going to look for our new calculated field. And I see ABC here, and then if I hover, I see FX. And one thing to note, I was able to go into the editing options within here by clicking on this FX. But once I add it here, again, it's not editing the field. It's not editing the field within the data source. It's editing the element. So that's why we can change the name. I can say new name for this metric, and I could type that in. Or I can change this into, any other option I want for this element here. But if I wanted to edit the actual formula, I would click on here, and then let's say I wanted to actually subtract and do that. And I can say update, and immediately wherever this is being used, anywhere on the dashboard, it's going to go ahead and reflect those changes. And so now we have that. What about average order value? And so that's another one that's pretty common, of wanting to be able to do average order value or any other KPI that maybe you're trying to track. And one other side note that's worth mentioning is that, yes, we've been using a lot of Google Analytics data just because that's easy. Most people have it. But if you have a spreadsheet or other data source coming from Google Ads or Supermetrics or anything like that, all of this will work for you too. It's just a matter of using a formula and calling whatever it is, the dimensions or the metrics or whatever it is you're looking for, and doing the math or the formula in the right way. And so for average order value, we're going to go ahead and say revenue, and we're going to divide it by the number of users. Actually, technically for us, we're going to say transactions. And then we're going to say this is AOV, and that's it. Simple as that. We would then probably come back and go to our data source, and let's go ahead and type it in. We're going to change it to a revenue real quick because that's not very useful to help the end user make an adjustment or take an action with that. So we're again searching using that. Instead of number, we're going to say currency. And thankfully, US dollar here is at the top in this particular option, and we're going to say done. And those are the options for simple math. Now, next, we're going to talk about ways to clean up your data. So let's say you get a new client and they don't have any filters or anything like that set up in Google Analytics, or you get a spreadsheet from your client and it's kind of messy. This is, again, showing the Google Analytics way, but the concept of the formula can definitely work with a lot of other different things. So in this particular example, we have just the page. So if you even see our data source here is the backup view, do not use, and you guys are familiar with what that means, is this is unfiltered data in Google Analytics. There's kind of the most basic way of seeing your data and not very useful. And so we want to be able to have a useful truth, and that could be adding in the host name. And so we're going to come down here, and I see this is what's called updated URL. So updated, and we're going to see how this was created. And all it is a concat with a parenthesis and saying host name followed by page. All it did was grab the host name that Google Analytics already had, followed by the page. So up here, as you can see, page is this slash. So it grabbed host name, added the slash. It grabbed host name, added this page. And so that's all it was doing. So this particular formula, I'll actually show that one more time for you so you can have that. This particular formula, all it did was make the dashboard a whole lot easier to read. And if you have subdomains or multiple domains, this will be incredibly useful for you because this slash would be the same for every single host name that you would have. So if we had measurementmarketing.io and Infusionsoft, and let's say we had 3 other different domains, every single one of them would show up as this slash for the host name, for the home page. And it would be very difficult to discern which is which. By obviously you'd want to clean up your data in Google Analytics, but having this option is great for if you have a client that didn't have that information already fixed for you. Another thing that you would be able to do is what if you forgot to set up a view that removes the parameters? So again, that is with filters with Google Analytics, but this concept would work with any other type of data source. But within Google Analytics, hopefully you've had those filters already set up, and there's other workshops that you can find on how to do that within Google Analytics. But if you don't have that and you want to be able to combine, for example, this number 2 and number 3 are the same page. Even though those numbers are 45, technically they should be 90. And then we have another one down here that is another 23 on top of that 90. And then here's this 20 here, and here's this 18, and here's this 14. So as you can see, you're not getting a very useful truth of like, oh, we've only had 45 users see the Academy page. Well, no, not necessarily. There's quite a bit more if we clean up these and get rid of these, what we call parameters. The question mark and anything after is a parameter. And we want to clean it up. And if you have a lot of Facebook traffic, you've definitely seen this with the FB CLIDs and all of that. So let's clean this up. And we already have our example down here. We're calling it URL without parameters. And we will look that up and show you how we built that one. And we're clicking on our formula here. And this one is a little bit trickier. If you find this on the internet, be careful copying and pasting, because the quotation marks, sometimes they'll try to be pasted as a regular quote, like if you're trying to write a letter or email or something like that. It's not correct dev quote. So be very careful if you try to paste that. When I was first doing it, I was getting errors, but it was just because the quotes weren't in the right syntax, I guess is the dev way of saying it. So, so we have basically it's saying replace when you go to the page, which is that's what we're looking at here, and all of this regex stuff. And I'm not going to explain all of the regex, but basically it's saying if there's anything with a question mark, then get rid of it. Get rid of everything after the question mark. So, and there are a few other different formulas that are very similar to this that probably work the same way. So if yours doesn't work exactly like ours did, which as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and say done. As you can see here with our Measure Marketing Academy page, we went from 45 page views for 45 users to that 228 right here, which is much more useful of a truth being able to see that. There are some other things too that you can do to clean up. Like if you have we don't particularly have this, but if you have, like, let's say measuremarketing.io, let's grab this one, the toolbox. And so let's say there's the toolbox without the slash, and then there's toolbox with the slash. And so those two are also broken up. There are ways where you can append or add the slash in or remove, depending on your method that you want to use. That way, again, you're combining them and getting a more useful truth. So there's other regex stuff that you can do. And Quite literally, you're just going to Google the formula, like, calculated field, Google Data Studio, add a slash, and you'll find a couple of different formulas, just the same way I mentioned. There's a couple of different formulas out there like this, and you'll be able to see which one works best for you and apply it. And finally, going to how can we make it more fun, more usable for the end user. And the one of the things that's actually got us taking a deep dive into calculated fields was a client question. A few years ago, they had set up their UTMs, which is fantastic. They did, and everything was saying affiliate, 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 but they wanted to change it to partner because they were creating an affiliate partner dashboard. And so in this example, we are looking at CPC, changing it to paid. So this is our starting point, and this is the ending point. And so, but in their example of the one that inspired this is they had affiliate, and then they wanted to change it to partner so that on their partner dashboard, it wasn't just, oh, everyone's an affiliate. So it's just a different vibe that they were trying to give out to their partners. And so since we already use the word partner, I couldn't show you that example, but we can with CPC. Let's say you accidentally set up some UTMs and actually did PCP, and you wanted to change it to CPC or PPC or whatever it is, the other acronyms that you are using instead of CPC that Google and other platforms use. And so the exact same thing, we're going to go jump in and see how we created this updated medium. And again, clicking on our formula here. And this is actually the new if statement. This one's only been around for about a month or so. It's kind of taking the place of some of these other ones. So this is actually kind of exciting. So if you're familiar with spreadsheets and formulas, we're basically saying if medium is this, then do it this. Otherwise, do this. So if medium is CPC, which in the quotations is important, then send it and then rename it to paid. Otherwise, medium, or otherwise just leave it as medium. So something else we can do is we can say if medium is, and we're going to try to say, we're going to do this live, none. And I don't know if it's going to like those parentheses. We'll find it. We're going to say untagged traffic. And that way, if you're trying to indicate to your client, let's use UTMs better. Let's see what it does. It might not like those parentheses. We might have to get a little regex happy on that. Nope, it did. It took those, and I believe it's because it's in the quotes. If we didn't have those quotes, it would not have taken that. So, but we're saying, hey, if medium is in parentheses of none, then send through untagged traffic. That way, the end user, the one who's using the dashboard, might be like, wow, that's a lot of untagged traffic. We might want to consider using UTMs. And that can definitely help the end user take action on that. All right, the final thing we wanted to show you is that you can have fun with these type of I was trying to say conditional formatting, but that's not what this is. It's calculated fields. You can do conditional formatting as well, but we're talking about calculated fields today. And what this is something Sarah on our team had fun doing. And I'm a fan of using emojis to kind of tell the story when I'm communicating with a client. So it was kind of fun that Sarah was able to do this. But it's just another statement. So this is called a case statement. And what we're saying is when device category, again, we got quotes in here, then desktop, and all we're doing here is doing emoji. So you can, we can change this. Let's say mobile is going to be, we're going to right click, and this is just using the Chrome tools. And what if we wanted to do add in a yellow heart with that emoji? We're going to go ahead and say update. And now, once it's updated, we should have a yellow heart. That's all it is. Very simple of adding these things in there. Just The hardest part, honestly, is getting your quotes and your commas in the right spot. And we're going to go ahead and go to all fields real quick, because I think it's really important that you see something else too, that when you're typing in your formula, it's going to guide you on what to do. And so if you just start typing, and I'm like, just because I happen to know what it's looking for, it's kind of guiding me through there. If I do the if statement, if, and I click on it, like, yes, this is the one I'm trying to do, it's telling me very similar to what spreadsheets do. It's kind of guiding you and say, okay, you're going to have a comma here, you're going to have a comma here, and all of this. So it's telling you how to do this. You also can click on this question mark for help. If you're trying to do something and you're not quite sure what to do, let's say I have something with a date, or something with a week or something like that, you're able to search. You also have access to something called a function list, and I would keep an eye on this if I were you, because just in 2021, we are towards the end of April now, and we have already seen more than 6 be added to this list, and most of them are thankfully conditional type of formatting. So we have these different columns way up here, so these types, names, description, and the syntax. So if we jump all the way down here, most of these conditional ones are the new ones this year. And so there's lots of different things that are coming out. So can definitely, if you haven't been able to do something in the past, keep an eye on these, and kind of try them out and compare and see if maybe you can do something. Something that some of our other experts use quite a bit is dates. If they need to give a specific date, or if they are trying to show a hyperlink, those are something that is really useful. They create a field for this, and then they put that in a table or make it, something very usable for the end user. Again, making the dashboard easy to use so they can take action. And then finally, one of the other top ones that we've seen used are these other math ones, like count distincts. Like if you wanted to know how many countries you are serving, or how many websites or domains, or how many carts you have, or something like that. There's ways you can use count distincts for showing that. Same thing with max and median. There's other different things that you can do with just simple math that I think could be really helpful, so you can get those answers doing that. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mercer, and if you guys have any questions, you guys know where to find us with Ask an Instructor back in the members area if you're Academy members. We're happy to help you get unstuck if you are trying to do something. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next workshop.
Thank you for that, Julie. That was awesome. Exactly what we needed. I actually really like that the concept of the emojis that you did there. I thought that was pretty cool. So what was your one thing as you're watching this? Now, again, some of it might be just the fact that you can even do this. And if you're just starting out with Google Data Studio, remember, it's not something you have to do immediately, but it is something you will eventually do because it helps you to kind of take that concept of fractured or dirty data and clean it up a little bit in that Google Data Studio interface. Because sometimes you don't have the ability to do that at the data source. I'm always a fan, Julie is too, of doing it at the data source, but sometimes you can't. And so Data Studio comes to the rescue when it comes to some of these cool little tricks that you can do with it. So hopefully you picked up at least one new thing. Remember, always put it into practice, build the skill, then come back, rewatch this workshop, pick up another one new thing, and practice from there. That is how we build skills without getting overwhelmed. Now, next week, we're actually going to be doing a strategy session edition of Workshop Wednesday. We're going to talk about how to deal with invisible data. This is especially timely because, well, Apple just released their whole thing. This is on April 21st when we're doing this recording. So Apple's just released their updates and they're starting to roll out, and it's about to hit the fan. Like everyone's worried. What do we do when we can't measure stuff? Well, that's what invisible data is all about. We're going to talk about how to deal with invisible data, thinking about it in terms of the strategy. What do we do now that we won't have as much available to us that we once did? There are ways to do it. We'll talk about it next week. If you are interested in getting that workshop, just be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Just go ahead and click on the button subscribe. You can get notified. It'll send you out a notification when we go live with the trainings. Plus, obviously, you get to watch them at your leisure. So be sure to go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, you would actually recommend, if you haven't already, to become a member of the Measurement Marketing Academy. So measure.tips/get academy will take you there. I'm actually going to show you exactly what that looks like when you come into the academy itself. I'm going to open up a few different things here. We have courses, so it's kind of like step 1, step 2, step 3 type courses. We have on-demand workshops, which are kind of like a choose your own adventure kind of library of different trainings that weren't quite big enough for courses, but important topics. We have Ask Instructor support for when you have questions. You can ask your instructors, and they will actually, you can send them videos and screenshots, and they will send back videos and screenshots to you. We have the Winner Circle Community Toolbox. We even have, Winner Circle, which is our community with our members back there. And of course, the Toolbox. So just to highlight some of these to show you some of the courses we have. We list them by date. They are updated. We just recently updated Google Data Studio Basics. Before that, we did Google Sheets Basics. For those of you kind of wanting to brush up on your spreadsheet skills, Google Analytics Setup, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a ton of courses here. We also have them organized by topic. So you have Google Analytics, all the way from Google Analytics, the original stuff, to the new and improved, the new hotness, Google Analytics 4. You can see that down here. We have that. That's actually going to get redone again. We try and do that one 2 or 3 times a year because it is changing so rapidly. So we'll do that one again later this year. We have Google Tag Manager for those interested in getting up to speed on Google Tag Manager. And of course, Data Studio. So there's Data Studio Basics here for you just getting started. There's Beyond Basics, and then strategy stuff around which numbers are important and why. And then, of course, strategy. So you can actually, I think this is actually the harder part of measurement, is thinking about it properly. So how to actually build out a plan and ask the right questions, how to actually optimize once you have the information, how to actually forecast, make sure that you're heading in the right direction. So there's lots of cool things that are available to you as part of the Measurement Marketing Academy. That's just the courses. Again, that's this section here. The on-demand workshops, that's kind of what you're watching now. So we actually have the on-demand workshops. We make them free for free members. You can watch the first one there, but our members, the Academy members, have edited student editions that are created, and they all have additional resources that are brought to them, because you can actually do a quick search and you can say, hey, I'm looking for topics around this, and it'll show you all the different lessons and all the different workshops that rate that. And you can come down, you can see the different key points related to workshops, resources, and of course, when you need help, Ask Instructor Support is there. So you click on Ask a Question when you come into this section, type in whatever your question is, and then you can then put in videos and screenshots, kind of what we recommend. It's like an over-the-shoulder view. Kind of bring us over like you were bringing us over to your workstation. Say, here's what I'm dealing with. How would you fix this? Our instructors end up sending videos and screenshots back. And then you've got this little question library where you have all the different questions and the help that you got from those questions, all in the Ask an Instructor Support section. That's just these 3 parts of the Measurement Marketing Academy. Again, we have the community area for those that want to get help from others. You can do that too. It's a little more public back there, of course, but there's some really great people that are back there. And sometimes they just have expertise in certain platforms that maybe we don't. So that's a really good place for members to network. And then the toolbox itself. These are all the different tools that we build for our members. We have a new section that is just for Academy members called the Get It Done Guides, where we are building this out. In this case, we just did the Eyes on the Journey report. So a little put together section that shows you how to actually set up the eyes on the journey. So it's a little video for you. It's got little templates and everything in there for you. So you can do that as an Academy member. And if you're not familiar with the Eyes on the Journey report, it is amazing. Very, very popular report that we've created. Shows you what kind of the conversation is that's happening on the page. And this is the sort of stuff that you get as an Academy member. So if you are remotely interested in learning anything about measurement, measure.tips/get academy is where I would go. It'll take you right to the Academy page so you can learn more about the Measurement Marketing Academy and see if it's a good fit for you. Now, if it's not for whatever reason, we do have a free level, which again, I realize that sometimes it's just out of reach for the Academy. So Measurement Marketing Toolbox is where I would look. You get access to all of our free tools, which is a bunch. We've got 40 different free tools back there. So we'll give you access to all of those. Plus, of course, these weekly trainings, you would see those back there. So you'll have access to those. Again, the unedited versions, but at least you got access to them. So you still get access to a ton of stuff. If you want the free version, measure.tips/WW will take you to the Toolbox membership page. So again, measure.tips/WW. So whatever you decide, becoming a Toolbox member or an Academy member, either way, we'd be happy to have you there and look forward to seeing you on more future Workshop Wednesdays. This has been Beyond Basics, using calculated fields and formulas in Google Data Studio. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.